The most embarrassing celebrity encounter that I had was actually with Margaret Atwood.
Whoa.
Yeah, who came to Guildford when I was in undergrad there. And she, gave a talk about her books. And afterwards, I had brought her book on writing. She was doing a book signing, and I go to hand her the book, and she looks at me, and she's like, "What's your name?" So she can sign the book. And I don't remember my name.
I would imagine a dungeon master to come out in a crushed velvet robe.
Just smoke everywhere.
Yeah, and it's either black or maroon. I'm getting the nod from our resident dungeon master.
Okay, so we have to get him a crushed velvet maroon robe.
He doesn't already have one?
You could speak.
I didn't know I was allowed to speak. I'm shaking my head emphatically, no.
We're recording this from the apartment live with our actually let's get into we haven't introduced the show at all.
That's your job.
Oh, that's my job.
Start that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've taken on a new role as dungeon master, and I've really been neglecting the rest of my responsibilities. Hey guys, welcome to I'm Trying, the show where dreams go to die, but we resurrect them sometimes.
I like a D&D character. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Jhanelle Dennis.
That's cool. And I'm Jacob.
When you get to a certain level, you don't have to introduce yourself.
People just know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for episode number 5. We're so glad you're here. It's 11:22 at night, and we're being goofballs. Goofballs. Yeah, no, so if you could tell, my roommate friend Wolfe is a dungeon master for the Dungeons and Dragons game that he runs with his friends and has been running for years now. And recently we've been kind of slowly trying to pull you into this little sphere of understanding.
I can't believe you guys are pulling me in.
It's fun, and it's cool, and it's an artistic expression. It's cool and fun. It's fun and cool.
Do people, is that a thing? Do people say Dungeons and Dragons is cool?
Yeah, well, now it's had a renaissance lately with the new edition, and there's all these shows now, like Critical Role, because of Will Friedle's been on it.
Yeah, but I don't think any of the listeners will know who Will Friedle is.
Hey, listeners, do you know who Will Friedle is? Answer the poll on our Twitter feed. I'll put it up back when this comes around. But there's been this kind of uprising of D&D as a pop culture thing again, and so these shows have huge audiences all built around these campaigns these people are running, and it can be super exciting. And I feel because of that, a lot of people are starting home games again.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about D&D.
Do you think it's about resurrecting Satan or something? Like all the Protestants in the 60s thought or something? 70s?
Yeah. Well,
D&D was not around in the 60s, I assume.
Was it not?
I think 70s was the
But it was from 1908.
1908?
Yeah.
The first Dungeon and Dragon.
Don't you come from a long line of dungeon...
My dad, well, not a
masters?
long line. My dad was a dungeon master back in his day, and he would show me some of his stuff. He had old character sheets. He would show me, and
Was it a chest that he'd have to blow dust off and then open it up?
I think it was just a folder. I don't know.
A manila folder.
There may have been dust on it. I can't remember, but he showed me the familiar he had and stuff. Yeah, that stuff's always stuck with me, and I think by becoming more popularized in pop culture, I've become more engrossed in it than I even was back then. You looking for something?
Yeah.
Okay, did you find it?
I'm looking for my sanity, and I've lost it. I can't believe I'm going to be a part of this.
We're gonna make it happen.
D&D group.
We're gonna do something.
Also, I'm so nervous.
We're gonna make it happen. It's gonna be fun.
Do you have to what skills do you need to be a good Dungeons and Dragons player? Imagination.
Yes, imagination. It sounds silly, but imagination is if you can come up with creative solutions to those problems, you're gonna get far. And I think you would agree with this, Wolfe. If one of your players comes up with something really clever, you're probably gonna reward that cleverness as the game master, right?
Yeah, that's the ideal situation because it incentivizes them to get crazier later on.
Yeah,
it's a giant game of improv.
It's a giant game of improv, exactly.
So Dungeons and Dragons is whose line is it anyway?
It's whose line is it anyway, but you have swords and stuff.
Oh. But you don't kill people in Dungeons and Dragons.
In real life, no, but in the game, you can murder and pillage.
Have you witnessed a D&D murder?
Yeah. Well, characters can die.
Wow.
Your character can die in D&D. You have health.
Our dungeon master is leaning back in his chair, looking like, I've seen some.
Just recently, one of his players got a new character after their character died.
Is that too sensitive to talk about, or are we?
Well, no, it was really cool because I know Wolfe. Like he started giving the option for when his players' characters, if they were in peril or they were gonna die or whatever, there's this option, and it's plenty of people do this, where they can do like one last heroic thing where they basically sacrifice themselves, but in the process,
blood sacrifice.
Just like, well, I think the situation with your last player was they were like inside of the creature and they sacrificed themselves to like swing at it 5 times or something to do like all this crazy damage that never could have done.
And you're acting this out.
Well, we're not like running around the room LARPing, but like it's in your head. It's like you're describing it. You're using your mind.
LARPing for some of our listeners that don't know what that is. That's live action role playing.
Yeah, right? Which is not as dirty as it sounds. And it's no, this is just you're sitting around a table and maybe you're like motioning or using. A lot of people will use voices for their characters. Yeah. It's popular, but it's really just about how you describe things. And
so it's not a card game.
No, it's not a card game. It is a pen and paper game. You have a list of things you can do. You have all your stats, your equipment, those kinds of things. And it comes down to you to kind of keep track of what you can do, what you can't do, what you have, what you don't have, and embark on a journey of storytelling and magic.
And math, you guys were saying.
Well, I mean, somewhat. I mean, you're rolling dice, you're adding numbers together. It's not like you don't need to like pull out the Pythagorean theorem or anything for the newer editions or anything, but it's...
No protractors or...
No, I don't think so. Not unless you have like a map that you're real specific about, Wolfe.
Is there a map?
I don't think you have a map, right? Not in yours? Not in your game?
I moved away from grid play a long time ago because I
grid play. We're cutting that out.
I'm sorry. Who edits the show? Grid play just refers into like having like small miniatures of the characters like on a field and like showing the emotions that are going on. And I think when it's all in your head, it gives you more freedom to kind of like play with what's going on. It's less like restricted to an XYZ axis that you're just looking at. You know, it's more playful.
Wow.
Oh, can we do something? I found it was a real life D&D stat generator. Have you seen this, Wolfe?
Oh, you sent it to me, but I didn't get to do it.
Yeah, I think Jhanelle should do it. I did mine.
Oh, that would be funny to see. Wait, does it tell you stats or to like class or what?
It just stats. It's if you were a D&D character, what would your stats be? Here are mine. I'll pull it up so you can do it on my computer. My stats were Strength 9, Intelligence 13, Wisdom 14, Dexterity 9.
Got a lot of 9s, man.
A lot of 9s. Con 8, Charisma 14. So Wisdom, Charisma, Intelligence, that sounds about right for me. Charisma.
This is exactly like astrological charts, which...
Okay, Jhanelle.
You don't believe it.
I'm going to hold the mic. You can jump in here. It's really easy.
Okay.
It's just a bunch of like pick-up thing questions. Here, you know what? I won't pause. I'll keep it running, but we'll come back in a minute once this has been finished up. We'll talk about it.
Pause it. Okay. My stats are 7 in strength.
Oof.
Is that low?
Jesus Christ, your charisma, Jhanelle.
Yeah, the strength. The lowest you can self-generate a stat in 5th edition is 8.
What? So that means I can't play?
No, just you're weakest.
Your charisma's 17.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Oh, I wonder. Okay, this is gonna be fun. Yeah. What are your stats?
Okay, strength is 7. What's the second one again?
That's intelligence.
Intelligence is 15.
Wisdom.
That's pretty good.
Was that? Oh,
Wisdom is 14.
Not great though. Wisdom is 14.
Wisdom and intelligence are super high. Your dexterity
is 7.
So your dexterity and your strength are not good.
Average for any stat is 10.
Yeah.
The baseline normal human in D&D is considered to be 10.
10.
Constitution.
8.
Which is not great. It's okay.
What's Constitution again?
Like your ability
your
to take hits. Health. Like the questions that
like health and stuff.
And your charisma is...
Well, I wasn't supposed to be born, so that's pretty good.
What?
I wasn't supposed to be born.
So all your physical stats aren't great, but your mental stats are good.
We're in the same boat. We're in the same... Mine weren't as extreme as you. You have like extremes here. Like I didn't hit anything above 14.
I'm weak, but people like me.
You're very weak, but you're very charismatic and you're super smart. Anyways, point of our show today. An old friend of mine, Nicole Zelniker. She is. I've known her for. We realized this today. We've known each other for 12 years. since like we went to camp together as kids. We talk about that on the show a little bit. She is a journalist and an author, and she has her first published book coming out. It was her thesis at Columbia.
Yeah,
and a publication
wicked.
liked it, and they said, you know what?
We want a book.
We want a book. I believe it's called Mixed. Nicole is so smart,
So lovely.
so charming, so lovely, funny, and she's not flaunting it. She's the kind of funny that like you gotta listen because you'll miss it if you don't.
Yeah.
And she's just I've always adored her, and I still do, and I'm glad she's killing it. Career wise, academically, she rocks, and I'm so happy.
So humble too.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah, she's. I mean, I think we had to pry the Columbia stories out of her.
Yeah.
She's.
And we got some work-related fears and anxieties out of her, which was really interesting for me because my background or current ground is in HR and recruiting. So it was really interesting to see,
Talk about the
the
job
other side.
fair process.
Yeah, or interviews. Scares.
They are. I mean, me and Nicole both have kind of varying forms of social anxiety, and I think it's always nice to talk to someone else who comes from a different angle of it. I'd say we definitely have different like anxiety is different for everybody.
Yeah, I used to have social anxiety, but
yeah.
it manifested itself very differently from both of you.
Yeah, but Nicole is just I don't know, like you growing up with her, you never would have known Nicole. I mean, she's to me she's always just seemed like she kind of understood what was going on around her, and whether that was true or not, whatever, man. She gave off that air, and I've always appreciated her, and I'm glad she came on the show, and it means a lot to me, and it was a lot of fun. It was good to sit down and talk.
Yeah, and she's a Gryffindor.
She is a proud Gryffindor. She's got the tattoo and everything. It's pretty wonderful.
This episode is so nerdy, and I love it.
Oh yeah, we're doubling down today. So, anyways, I hope you enjoy our episode with Nicole. And, here we go.
I got into journalism in undergrad and college. I went to Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I had done creative writing, and there wasn't at that time really a creative writing space. So I joined the school newspaper. My first semester there was really terrible at it, and just kept insisting that I should write for them until I got good.
Yeah.
Eventually,
What kind of stories were you doing at that newspaper?
Fanfic.
Not fanfic. A lot of it actually, I wrote a lot for the World and Nations section, so a lot of it was outside news, but then also, outside of that, it was a lot of community journalism because it was a college newspaper. And after that, I applied to Columbia, went there for journalism grad school.
Whoa.
Yeah. And
You went from sucking at being a high school...
college.
Oh, yeah, college newspaper
First year of
reporter,
college.
to Columbia grad school for journalism?
There were a couple years in between. But eventually made it onto the ed board, was editor-in-chief when I left college, so it wasn't like a total, and then...
Wasn't a fluke.
No. After Columbia, I started working at The Conversation, where I am now, which is a publication written predominantly by academics about their research. So, for example, if Trump declares that there will be a trade war on China, we find someone who specializes in trade economics to write about what a tariff is. Things like that.
Interesting.
She's good at what she does.
So Columbia every year has a really big job fair in March, and there are a whole bunch of publications. So Harper's is there, and the New York Times, and just these kind of aspirational places. Condé Nast was one of those places that was there.
And Condé Nast is New Yorker, GQ.
Yeah, GQ.
Yeah.
So they.
I think they're Bon Appetit too.
They publish a lot.
Yeah. I like Bon Appetit.
And
Hearst, I guess, would be one of the...
Hearst was there.
Yeah. All the biggies.
But when I went up to Condé Nast, a lot of our interviews were scheduled. I didn't have a scheduled interview with Condé Nast, but I went during one of their free periods, and I sat down with them, and they asked, which of our publications do you read? And I sat down, And all of a sudden my mind just kind of went blank.
Oh no.
And I was like, what do you publish? And I was looking down at their table and looking at the magazines. The woman obviously can see me do that.
Suddenly became dyslexic, couldn't read anything. Just like, oh, no.
It was pretty brutal. And so I, left that feeling pretty not good about it.
You couldn't come up with one on the spot?
No, not on the spot. I can do it now. Because there's less pressure to do it, but...
No worries now. Everything's fine.
But the... afterwards, I went to go send them an email and just send everyone an email who I had spoken with, just to say thank you for meeting with me. Sent them an email thinking maybe I could still salvage this. Maybe there's a New Yorker job in my future or whatever. And the woman emails me back saying, thank you for sending this. You spelled my name wrong.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. So
recruiting.
I don't think I will ever work at Condé Nast. I continue to read their publications.
As a fan.
As a fan. But it'll be at least a few years before I get the courage to even attempt to recover from that. It was such a weird moment for me because I'm such an organized person and just so,
So it was nerves.
It was totally nerves. And I had spent, so much time preparing for it. And afterwards I sent, a couple dozen emails to people. I didn't spell a single
great move.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do, absolutely.
Yeah. They definitely, drilled that beforehand, kind of like what...
That's the etiquette.
Yeah, proper job fair etiquette was at Columbia. And I sent, dozens of emails after, and I didn't spell a single other name wrong. It's just the universe doesn't want me to work for Condé Nast right now.
Just double down in the same publication.
Yeah.
Was it a hard to spell name?
No.
Oh,
was
that's
it
even
joke?
worse. You don't need to say it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the thing now is that the conversation, which I'm so incredibly lucky to have the job I do now, they are sending me in March to that same job fair to go recruit students.
Full circle.
Yeah, so it's a weird kind of, I don't know, I guess a 360. But yeah.
What do you, if Condé Nast is there...
Oh, God.
They're gonna fight.
I don't think they'll remember me, honestly.
No.
There were so many students. There are so many students there every
ironic
year.
thing is that now that you're working at another company, that's when they're gonna want you the most.
Yeah, well,
Companies
also...
always want to do that.
Yeah.
it was such a big deal to me, and I'm sure that, 3 days after I sent the email, they don't remember.
I'm sure.
It's such, and looking at it now from kind of the other perspective, I'll be meeting all these students. I don't know how I'm going to keep all those names straight, which is, why they give us resumes.
Really.
Yeah. It's a weird relationship because you're trying to sell yourself at the same time as the recruiter is trying to sell the company.
Yeah.
And it has to be a good match.
Yeah, it's like the tables are...
Yeah.
That was the wrong analogy. The tables are turning.
The tables are all over the place.
There's just tables everywhere.
They're all broken.
I always see job interviews as like, or recruiting as dating.
Oh, yeah.
It basically is.
Yeah. Because, it's
Are you a good
dating
match for
online.
us?
Are you a good match?
Yeah.
You have to be aligned. You have to want the same things. And that interview is a date.
It was really awkward when I went to a job interview and all I wanted was a hookup. It was a weird moment.
Just a short-time gig.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious.
That's what it is, isn't it? It's seasonal.
That's what the internship is.
The internship is that's a bad hookup. Is what that is.
Especially when it's unpaid.
That's right. That is correct. Oh no! I remember as I was leaving one of those job fairs, I got a phone call.
Yeah.
On my cell phone, and we're all of us that are going back to school in this coach bus, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, what is this? And everybody and it's this weird number that I don't know, and I'm like, I go hello, and everyone around me goes quiet. Mm-hmm. And they all think it's someone from the job fair. The truth is, a few weeks prior, this was during Jon Stewart's last, semester, last couple of months at The Daily Show, and I had applied for an internship at The Daily Show. And they called me. And they said, hey, Jake, we want to talk to you. We want to do an interview over the phone when you got time. And I go, how about this time? We just talk a little bit. And they go, okay, great. We'll call then. And I get on the phone and everybody's looking at me on the coach bus. And they go, who was it? I go, that was the Daily Show. The entire bus goes, yeah! Like, just like hands up, just like freaking out, like applause and stuff. I didn't get it. But like, it was still very like...
But you got an interview.
I did an interview with the Daily Show.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It was cool. But like, it was just... But at the same time, like, it's the same effect of like, you have this like, gigantic mountain that you have the opportunity to start summiting.
Yes.
And then when everybody's watching.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then you blow it. And it's like, it's just like the sound of the air being let out of the balloon.
Yeah. It's so much less also once you have the job, you know, I you know, continue to make mistakes. Like I've forgotten my swipe card to get into my office at work and, you know, stupid things like that. But it seems so much less of a big deal almost. Like you still want to do a good job, obviously.
Yeah. Also, the competition is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know at work that I'm giving it my all, and I know that, you know, my boss can see that and my coworkers can see that. So it's less of a big deal when, you know, I have to call one of them being like, hey, can you let me in the building? Because I'm an idiot. But I'm sure that the things that seem so big to me that I, you know, constantly feel like I'm messing up are probably not nearly as big of a deal to the people that I think.
That's probably universal.
Yeah.
I think everyone can agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, one of my biggest kind of non-adulty things is just my failure to make anything edible ever.
Are you seasoning your food? That's
No. I try. And then it just somehow tastes even more terrible, and I just can't. And my roommates make fun of me. One of them especially is this incredible cook.
I hate them already.
No, she's incredible. She just, you know, is much better at this thing than I am. And so, you know, every once in a while we'll have a meal, just my roommates and I. And I'll have to save the leftovers for, you know, days because I can't cook and this is delicious.
Yeah. Well, you have a million restrictions, to be fair.
I do.
For context.
I'm a vegan and I also have Crohn's disease.
Oh, you're vegan.
Yes.
And she has Crohn's. So it's like...
What can you eat with Crohn's?
Most things.
It's similar to like IBS?
Yeah, so Crohn's is like inflammation. I don't know if this is a weird thing to talk about on your podcast, but it's happening.
It's medical, whatever.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it.
Yeah,
I don't know anything.
You're talking to some anxiety and narcolepsy over here.
Cool.
You're clear, dude. You're clear.
Oh, yeah. Well, Crohn's is essentially inflammation of the intestine. So it's a lot of stomach-related nonsense. And so it really depends. My mom has it also, so like I can eat certain things that she can't and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But for me, the reason I cut out dairy in the first place was the Crohn's, and then I ended up going completely vegan for ethical reasons, but then also things like fruits with skins I have a hard time with, or corn, which is, you know, normal people shouldn't be eating it. It's really hard for us to digest, but it's harder for me. I really should be a better cook because I have so many restrictions, and that's just, I just make a lot of undercooked pasta and peanut butter sandwiches.
See, I think that gives you a free pass, though. Because
do you think so?
Yes, because you're vegan, it's so much harder.
I'm going to tell that to people.
Yeah, because with me, I just make things taste good by throwing cheese.
Yeah.
Anything meat.
Daya makes a killer vegan mac and cheese, though.
Who?
Daya?
Daya?
It's this vegan, vegan cheese brand. Again, the pasta tends to be undercooked when I make it.
Is it a microwavable thing, or is it?
No, it's just mac and cheese. You boil the pasta, and it's like it's the box that comes with the pasta and the, you know, fake slimy cheese.
And you're not celiac, though, right?
No.
Okay, so you can have wheat and...
Yeah.
Basically, you joked with me once that, like, your diet is basically all the things that everyone else is cutting out.
Yes.
You're basically just eating bread. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Like, everyone's afraid of carbs, and you're like, this is all I do!
I had someone, a friend of a friend once recommend keto to me.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I was like, I will starve. That is not a thing I can do.
I can't eat meat. I don't eat eggs. I did bread. I got bread.
I got bread. But bread, I think bread is healthy for your soul, and that's what I tell people that try to cut it out. So
Yeah.
maybe it's healthier for your body, but you know, my spirit will be sad because bread.
I'm glad you're not allergic to peanuts, though. Love it.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh.
No.
You know what sucks also about not being able to cook well is, you know, when you're trying to save money.
Yeah.
Because you buy all those ingredients and
Yes.
you make something, it tastes like trash.
And then you just want to order it.
And you Gordon Ramsay yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, this is disgusting. You're a failure.
I don't know, man. You've got publications coming out. You're working.
I do. I have a book coming out.
Nicole!
Yes.
This is so exciting. Hold on. Like, do you have any concerns about being a published author? I mean, like, it's kind of a cool thing. But,
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my biggest concerns is that, you know, I've talked to my publisher about advertising. So we've talked about social media and we've talked about different things. And at one point he said to me, you know, we should set you up with interviews. And I was like, God, no. I hate... Yeah. I hate talking in front of people. I always think I'm going to sound so stupid. And that's the biggest... Or... you know, book signings. So my mom recently befriended this woman in Long Island City who is looking for local authors in Queens to do book signings. So my mom called me and was like, you should definitely call this woman. Here's her number. And there's about a 50-50 chance that I'll actually do it because meeting people is scary. And talking about things that I care about in front of lots of people is scary.
Is this a social anxiety?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in addition to the Crohn's, there's the anxiety, which makes the Crohn's worse, which is a good time.
Oh my gosh.
No.
This is just a cycle of pain. Oh my Lord.
But you're the expert of your book. Like, no one knows that book
Better than you, right?
Oh yeah, I've read it for hours many times. So it's all in there.
Would it be? I mean, you're doing this.
What is it about?
This is a good step. Sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying, like, this feels like it's a good step towards being able to do interviews.
Being on this podcast right now is terrifying.
Yeah. I get
so that's it's a good
Hey man,
we're very intimidating.
Name of the show.
I'm trying.
You're trying.
I am trying.
That's what's important.
Yeah, but to answer your question, Jhanelle, it's about race and mixed race families. So talking to families and individuals who are mixed, in addition to experts on race, on American history, on media. So should definitely check it out. It's called Mixed, and it's a good time.
You know we're going.
Of course I'm going to.
We're so excited.
Yeah.
I'm honestly I'm so excited for you. I'm truly.
Thank
it's
you.
so cool. I guess we talked about this earlier. When you're 14, we have no idea what's going to come of us.
No.
We have no clue what's going to happen. And the fact that we're both, the fact that you are moving in such a you're moving in a direction that actually means something.
Yeah.
And that's.
I hope so.
But truly.
So your direction is meaningless?
I mean, we're running a podcast.
Yeah.
You're running a podcast that's going to make, as someone out there is going to hear that, you know, I can't make pasta and feel much better about themselves.
I hope so.
That's meaningful.
Perhaps, but also I don't know. I feel weird pride about you having a book out. I don't know why.
I appreciate
I'm not your dad. For some reason, I feel a little bit of pride about that. That makes me feel great.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. I mean, gosh, okay, good. Were there any moments in the writing? I mean, because originally it was just like it was a college work, right? It was just like
for grad school. It was my grad school thesis. Yeah.
It's like that's an exhausting process.
Yeah, writing a book is brutal. Doesn't it take a
writing a thesis is brutal. Like and then turning it into a book is like, oh my god.
Well, I got really lucky. This all just kind of came about really quickly. I sent in a part of the thesis, which hadn't actually made it into the thesis. I had a lot more interviews than could actually fit into the grad school thesis, and so I sent one of those to the Naciona, which at the time they were only a literary magazine, and they accepted the piece. They said they really liked it. I talked to them about the fact that I would maybe like to expand this into a book, a bigger project, and they happened at that time to be starting to publish books. And they said that they would be interested in checking out the rest of the manuscript. So that's who I'm publishing with.
Wow.
So good. Were there any moments along the process of writing the thesis where you were just like ready to toss the whole thing at the wall?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember what that was?
I think it was mostly just a lot of self-doubt, you know, like it's something that, especially as a white person writing about race, it's something that is an important thing for, you know, white people to think about and talk about. At the same time, it's something that I personally benefit a lot from, because white privilege is a thing. And so that was, and my thesis advisor was white as well. So, you know, kind of checking my own privilege, and this conversation took a turn for it to be a lot more serious.
Please,
But
yes.
you must have had you must have felt some kind of mission at that point, saying, you know, I am white, but these stories need to be told.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much of it is also, you know, it shouldn't be on people of color to have to constantly reiterate
Explain themselves.
to people their stories. So allowing people to tell these stories through this publication was important.
And even just being asked.
Yeah.
Because some of these people that you were interviewing, maybe...
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that really surprised me. You know, I thought going into it maybe that people would be a little resistant, and not a single person that I spoke to was. Everyone was actually really excited to talk about this.
That's wicked.
Yeah, it was really cool.
When your anxiety's at its highest, when your depression's at its highest, when you're just not feeling it, when you've realized you've whiffed that interview, is there a certain thing you've come back to recently that's kind of helped you get out of the funk? Be it media, it could be a show, it could be a song, it could be an activity, it could be a food, even though that's unlikely. But,
with the Crohn's, yeah.
I mean, it could be chickpeas, I don't know.
I do like chickpeas.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge nerd, so I read a lot, and that's
We
always
got
been,
ourselves another nerd!
Yeah. That's always been kind of my go-to. Last year when I was in grad school at Columbia, I reread the entire Harry Potter series over spring break. Yeah.
Janelle's got a girl crush.
I'm always happy to talk about, you know, Harry Potter with a fellow
I mean, you've
nerd,
got the
so
tattoo.
I do. I do have a lion
Harry
tattoo.
Potter's not fantasy, it's like real life.
Well, my other roommate John is currently rereading the whole series.
Yeah.
I know a couple people who are currently, like, for their New Year's resolution was I want to reread the whole Harry Potter series.
Interesting.
Or read it for the first time.
I wish I were like that. I just go on YouTube rabbit hole binges.
Yeah.
Where they condense the whole thing and be like, oh, did you know Voldemort was conceived out of a love spell and that's why he couldn't love?
Well, that's in the books. That's canon.
Yeah.
Little things you might have missed.
I miss everything.
Oh my gosh, you really know this whole thing inside and out. Were you,
I do.
Were you with us when we went to go see the movie with the camp trip? What was that? That was...
Which one?
Probably...
Was that the sixth one?
I can't remember.
I think it was Half-Blood Prince.
It might have been. I think it was.
It must have been.
I just remember us all sitting in the back row together. I just remember that image.
That's why she couldn't have named her book. Next.
What, Half-Blood Prince?
There you go.
That's a good joke. I appreciate that joke.
Thank you.
I mean, so tell me about your love for Harry Potter. Why is it so... Why do you think it is...
You look like a female Harry.
I do.
You look like you could be Harry's daughter.
Oh, interesting. Who would be the mom?
You know what? I don't know.
We thought about this too much. Is there a certain reason it resonates with you? Is there a certain... do you think you could pinpoint it? Or is it just like so...
I think it's a number of things. I think for one thing, you know, it just always kind of felt like coming home rereading the series. It's something that, you know, is so kind of has gotten so much outside of itself, and it's just such kind of this big thing that, you know, when you go back to it or reread it, it just kind of feels like it's enveloping you and giving you a hug. I saw actually Puffs in Manhattan, which is a Harry Potter spoof play about what the Hufflepuffs were doing while Harry was at Hogwarts. And so
the Hufflepuffs were like, no, you never really heard about them.
No, it was really
Mine's like
just Cedric, who is in the show.
Of course.
But
the main character.
He's not the main character,
Oh, yeah?
but he's relevant because the central character is in Harry's here.
You're right.
That was the one who Robert Pattinson played in the movie, right?
You're correct.
Yeah.
I even got a little bit of this left in my brain. I'm like
Yeah,
a huge
there you
fan.
go.
You know more than me.
I got some. Honestly, I mean, I watched all the movies and I read most of the books as a kid, but I was never, like, even close to Nicole's level. Like, I remember, like, when the book came out, they were, like, giving copies out at the camp.
Yeah, well,
I remember that stuff.
No, when the book came out, when we were 12, the last book came out, The Deathly Hallows, and they banned it at the camp.
Oh, because they didn't want anyone getting spoiled, right?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Wait, that's why?
Yes.
I was like, because of witchcraft.
No.
It was legit spoilers. People were, like, upset. People were nervous about spoilers. That's how big of a deal.
Who was nervous about the spoilers?
Everyone.
If they brought it to the camp, wouldn't all of you be reading at the same time?
Maybe.
Well, it was between sessions. I have a very clear memory of this because I left after the first session and demanded that my mom bring the book in the car. And when she came and picked me up, she's like, oh, how was your whole summer? You know, like, I haven't seen you in a month. And I was like, oh, great. And sat down in the back of the car. And
you're like, shut up.
Started to read the book.
So this has really been your happy place forever, really.
But so the thing about Puffs is that a little bit of relevant background, I don't cry at movies. The last time I cried at a movie, I think I was like 3 years old and figured out what happened to Bambi's mother. Who previously, according to my mother, had been out to tea with her friends. And when I was about 3, she decided to tell me what actually happened. But no spoilers for people that haven't seen Bambi.
No spoilers for Bambi.
But
50-something years, right?
I just found myself sobbing at the end of Puffs.
Wow.
For, like, no reason other than that it, it was clearly made by people that really cared about the series and really just put a lot of effort into this and really, it felt like it was made for me. And it was so incredible. Yeah. I actually got to meet Daniel Radcliffe. I went and saw Lifespan of a Fact on Broadway.
Wow.
I want to see that so bad.
And he was so nice. And he put up with all these people telling him that it was their birthday. It probably wasn't all those people's birthday. It was a little ridiculous. But he was very
this outside
sweet.
the theater?
Yeah. This was after.
He was just chilling there.
No, he came out specifically to sign playbills.
Yeah.
But actually a couple people had brought the books, the Harry Potter books, which, like, I kind of feel bad for this kid. Like, he just cannot escape the fact that he was Harry Potter. And I see him, on stage or in movies, and he's an incredible actor. And,
incredible.
During the duration of the film, I forget that he was Harry Potter. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, the Harry Potter man did great,
Harry Potter man did great.
Normally, okay, so I'm usually pretty good at, like, I don't get nervous, meeting famous people. That's not a big thing. Daniel Radcliffe was such an important part of my childhood that it felt a little different. The most embarrassing celebrity encounter that I had was actually with Margaret Atwood.
Whoa.
Yeah, who came to Guildford when I was in undergrad there. And she, gave a talk about her books. And afterwards, I had brought her book on writing. She was doing a book signing, and I go to hand her the book, and she looks at me, and she's like, what's your name? So she can sign the book. And I don't remember my name. I look at her, and I'm like, you're Margaret Atwood. And so it took me a couple seconds too long to remember that I am, in fact, called Nicole, and that was my name, and she could use it to sign the book. But otherwise, like, Armie Hammer I met after Straight White Men was fine.
But Margaret Atwood.
Margaret Atwood, yeah.
You can follow Nicole on Instagram and Twitter at Nicole Zelniker. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. It helps word about the show spread like a magical spell.
And of course, make sure you're subscribed to easily download new episodes. I'm Trying is hosted, edited, produced, and scored by Jhanelle Dennis and me, Jacob Derwin. Our cover art was created by the fabulous Sammy Kappa. See more of her work at sammycappa.com. That's SAMICAPPA.com.
You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at I'm Trying Show. And if you want, you can follow us individually at Jhanelle Dennis and Jacob Derwin.
If you've screwed up or embarrassed yourself and are looking for help,
or pity,
reach out to us on Twitter or email at imtryingshow@gmail.com, and our team of crisis experts
us
will be more than happy to assist you.
we're reasonably happy.
Thank you so much for listening, and in the words of Pasek and Paul, words fail, there's nothing I can say.